Clock in, clock in. Black got it just walked in.
Yeah. He already dead, there ain't no need to check his vitals, bitch. He already dead, there ain't no need to check his vitals. Yeah, crunch time, yeah, nigga, it's lunch time. Let go, crunch time, yeah, nigga, it's lunch time. Yeah, crunch time, yeah, nigga, it's lunch time. Let go, crunch time, yeah, nigga, it's lunch time. He dead.
Team Black gotta stand up, man. Yeah, it been a lot going on in this case so far. Y'all know we've been staying updated, man. You stay close to these updates by clicking that sub button and hitting the bell. So far, how I feel, things is looking like it's actually on Melly's side in a way. But at the end of the day, the prosecutors do have some information that I feel like Melly and his team need to explain. Cause without them explaining that, it just make them look kind of crazy in a way, you feel me? Like it just leaves a bunch of blank spots that need to be filled in, and when this blank spot's not filled in, it's usually because somebody's covering something up or hiding something. Melly them, they trying to look forward to getting a mistrial after, you know, days have been going by. I've been seeing a lot of other attorneys giving advice and stuff and saying like, probably not a good idea to go to mistrial. Who knows? Melly's team might see what everybody else is saying and actually think about it and be like, you know what? It's probably not a good idea to do a mistrial. Because attorneys feel like that would give the prosecutors another chance to clean up everything they messed up in front of this jury. And that's probably something you don't want. And it does make a lot of sense. You feel me? Just as much as they might look at Melly as a type of person, it's still not gonna take away the fact that they seen prosecutors make a lot of mistakes. And if prosecutors goes to the next jury and don't make no mistakes, that might not be too good.
We are here because the defendant murdered 2 individuals.
The state says YNW Melly is a cold-blooded killer, while the defense says the state can't prove it.
Why he would commit such a heinous crime
Them here friends
against his own 2 best friends for no reason.
We are looking at the top 11 moments from week 1 of the YNW Melly trial. I've covered a lot of crime stories over the years, many of them here at Law and Crime, and it always gets me thinking about how important it is for all of us to stay safe. So this is Palm Pepper Spray, and it can help you do just that. It is a small but mighty self-defense tool. Palm Pepper Spray shoots up to 12 feet using the strongest legal form of pepper spray available. It's safe and easy. You just point and spray. And if you want to try it, you can get 10% off. Log on to palmpepperspray.com and use the promo code LawCrime10. And remember, if you or anyone else is ever in trouble, always dial 911.
I thought we supposed to use the pepper spray. What you promoting pepper spray for if we ain't supposed to use that when we in danger? 12 feet? Well, I could hit you from far. Straight in your eyes. Stop playing.
YNW Melly's legal name is Jamel Demons. He faces 2 counts of first-degree murder for the death of 2 lifelong friends, Chris Thomas and Anthony Williams. They were part of his rap group YNW. Thomas went by YNW Juvie, and Williams went by YNW Sack Chaser. A 4th member, Cortland Henry, went by YNW Bortland. Prosecutors say on October 26, 2018, the 4 men left a recording studio together at 3:19 a.m. They're seen on surveillance video getting into a gray SUV. More than an hour later, Bortland showed up at an emergency room with Juvie and Sack Chaser in the SUV.
Running.
They were dead. Melly was not in the vehicle. Bortland claimed they had been the victims of a drive-by shooting, but he didn't have a scratch on him. Bortland is charged separately. Melly faces the possibility of the death penalty if convicted, and he's the first person in the state of Florida to face the possibility of the death penalty under a new lower threshold.
That's wild how they just create this new law, and you the first person, Melly. Melly is the first person, the first individual that they're using to promote this new law that could get you the death penalty.
A change in Florida law allows a jury to impose the death penalty by a vote of 8-4.
Whoa.
Up until April of this year, that vote had to be unanimous, 12-zip.
It had to be 12-zip. Now it's 8-4. Boy, they making it easier, boy. Oh, man.
Opening statements, of course. Christine Bradley is the assistant state attorney for Broward County. She gave the opening statement for the prosecution. She described Melly as a cold-blooded killer.
On October 26th of 2018, this defendant shot and killed 2 of his friends. He killed Christopher Thomas and Anthony Williams. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to set out the story and how this unfolded and lay out what I expect the evidence will show during the course of this trial. First thing you are going to hear is that at 4:35 a.m. on October 26th of 2018, Cortland Henry, the co-defendant, shows up at Memorial Miramar Hospital. In his car, he has two dead bodies. In the front passenger seat is Anthony Williams. In the rear passenger seat is Christopher Thomas. They are dead, they are riddled with bullets, and the car is full of blood. Christopher Thomas is sitting in the rear. There is multiple defects to his body. Anthony Williams, who is sitting in the front, has two major injuries. Officer Jessica Amangor is working a detail at the hospital. Cortland Henry runs in, starts telling a story about a drive-by. Quote unquote, drive-by.
The prosecution says the story about a drive-by is made up, and there's no evidence to support it. But there is evidence of a shooting found in another location where cell phone evidence indicated Melly and his friends had been that morning. The prosecution also talked about Melly being in a gang and an Instagram message that they say is essentially a confession.
One individual, and specifically, sends out, and I want to quote the message exactly that you will hear, and says, right after this, "Yo, homie, you good? Let me know something." And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is where context matters. What does that mean? If you work at Google and you say, "My whole floor is coding," that's a good thing. If you work at Broward General Hospital and you say, "My whole floor is coding," that is a bad thing. The context around the messages matters. So in the context,
her way of explaining it is just like, why do y'all do that? Y'all just do all the extra talking and word muscling to just say the simplest things on earth. And then sometimes when I see attorneys try to say the smartest things ever, but it just be stupid as hell. You think you saying something brilliant because you using context clues and words around the bubble. It's still stupid. Don't make no damn sense. Now what she's basically trying to explain is when he hit fam up and was like, "Yo, what's good, homie?" It wasn't on no, "Hey, what's good, homie?" Like trying to see if he's okay. Is, "Hey, what's good, homie? Are you okay? You straight? Fam, you got away." Like that what type time she's using it for. But to get them to believe that's exactly how the message was sent, it's gonna be kind of hard, especially if Melly explained what this message meant.
in the context of this message, this individual is reaching out, asking if Mr. Demmons is good after he's been tagged in multiple social media posts about this drive-through.
Drive-through. Did she just say drive-through? You must be thinking about McDonald's or something, cause it's called drive-by.
And Mr. Demmons responds very succinctly, "I did that." Shh.
Then it was the defense's turn. Melly's lead attorney, David Howard, told the jury the state can't prove its case.
That's the first indication that they're just guessing and don't know what they're talking. And that, ladies and gentlemen, by itself is reasonable doubt. Why he would commit such a heinous crime against his own two best friends for no reason.
Cause he got murder on his mind. He got murder on his mind. He had murder on his mind. That's another thing too, man. Them explaining the reasoning on why it is non-existent. So them not doing it yet makes me feel like they're gonna come out of nowhere and bring up a reason why, a motive. You feel me? And we just gonna have to see how this goes.
What happened here is that the lead detective, Detective Moretti,
Moretta?
saw a video Mr. Demons getting into a car 40 plus minutes before bodies were found in that car. And then he discovered that Mr. Demons was a rising star. And from that point on, he decided he's the only person that could have committed this crime. Because if you're involved in prosecuting a star, you become a star. This was his big break.
Say it ain't so.
And he had tunnel vision, and he zeroed in on this person, this young man, as the only possible perpetrator of that crime, to the exclusion of all other leads and evidence.
I'm not gonna lie to you at all. Melly's lawyer completely crushed the opening. I'm talking about the opening. He took the whole flow. He had everybody eyes, ears. He even had me like, boy, you snapping. You going crazy. And if any juror felt like they didn't know what their duty was, after this man kept talking, I'm pretty sure they knew what their duty was. He definitely crushed the prosecutor's opening because theirs was mid for sure.
Tell the jury that the investigation cannot be trusted.
3 years after arresting this young man and sticking him in a cell, the state looks at its case and says, oh man, this looks a little incompetent. Miramar police seems to have botched this investigation, and they call the Broward Sheriff's Office and ask them to come and look at the investigation upon which this entire prosecution rests. And he looks at it, and he says he instantly knew he had to start from scratch. I think his words were, it was the worst thing I had seen in my life.
The state's first witness was Jessica Amangor. She was a Miramar police officer working a detail at the emergency room that morning when she described Cortland Henry coming in.
So I'm sitting at the ER desk, and he comes running inside to my left, so the pediatric entrance, and he's very excited, like heightened state of alert, something traumatic or something just happened. And he's like, hey, they just shot my car, they shot my friends, like I need help, can you come help me? That was the initial interaction.
And based on his statement, how do you proceed?
So as soon as I walk out the ER and I see the vehicle had multiple bullet holes on the side, I immediately radio in for additional resources because that's beyond my scope of I can handle by myself. And then asking, hey, I need additional officers, as soon as possible, urgently to respond to the hospital. I have a vehicle that's been involved in the shooting, and can see the multiple bullet holes. And then looking inside the vehicle and see 2 unresponsive males. So I advise I have possible dead persons as well.
It's important to note Cortland Henry claims they were the victims of a drive-by, but he doesn't have any injuries. Police photographed him at the hospital. He doesn't have a scratch on him or...
I see a couple scratches now. Y'all don't see that little scratch right there? You feel what I'm saying? And it looked like a bullet just flew right past that dreadlock because the way it's deformed on the left vertical angle of the dread, it's just a bullet. You feel me? Y'all ain't do all that research though. Okay, let me find out.
Or any blood. That seems nearly impossible since there are 16 bullet holes in that SUV. On cross-examination, there was a somewhat dramatic moment when Amangor was asked this question by Melly's attorney.
Was the crime scene also inside the hospital where Mr. Cortland Henry was?
Yeah, the whole ER was shut down.
Okay, so in other words, no one was allowed in that area that we saw.
Unless they were needing emergency care, that would go to another room, but the ER was shut down.
So I'm real clear. Do you know the names of all, did you document the names of all the officers and detectives that responded?
No, I didn't.
So we're perfectly clear. Could you stand up? You didn't see this young man getting out of the Jeep at any time, correct?
No, sir.
The reason the
Now, when I first seen that lady hop on the stand, I was thinking to myself, damn, this is the person that seen Bortland come inside the place. They're crushed. She's going to say something crazy that made them look guilty or whatever. But after time went on and she actually said, no, I never seen Melly, I said, Damn, she kind of didn't throw him under the bus at all.
Prosecution says Melly wasn't in the backseat of the car was because they said he got out of the car at 4:02 a.m. to stage the drive-by and later sent a pin to a friend to pick him up. The prosecutor showed the jury photos of the SUV where Juvie and Sack Chaser were shot to death. Blood covers the back passenger seat where Juvie was sitting. You can also see the bullet holes from the gun being fired at the vehicle. The jury also saw photos of Bortland. Police photographed him in the hospital. He didn't have any injuries from the shooting, which is mind-boggling given his claim that they were the victims of a drive-by. Police never recovered the murder weapon, but did recover a .40 caliber shell casing. The defense seized on this when cross-examining the firearms expert who analyzed all of the shell casings in this case. His name, Jorge Bello.
Could you tell us, beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt after all of this examination, how many firearms created these casings and projectiles?
So what I can say is that one firearm fired the casings, so one firearm produced the cartridge cases that were submitted. And as far as the projectiles are concerned, I can say that 2 of them came from one firearm, and then the other ones could have come from the same firearm, but I cannot conclusively say that there was only.
Okay, so there could be more than one firearm that created all of these items, correct?
As far as the projectiles, yes.
Okay, fair enough. Now, after you did all of this analysis, were you able to determine what gun was used to create these projectiles and casings?
No, in the absence of a firearm, I cannot conclusively say it was one or the other.
So essentially, Bello is saying there could have been more than one gun used, which could help Melly's case. He was also questioned about determining the trajectory or angle from which a shot is fired and what variables could impact that type of testing.
And if the shooting occurred inside a car, for instance, would the arm length matter of the so-called shooter or shooters?
It could.
And whether or not the person was leaning in one direction?
Sure. Yeah, we're working in a very small environment.
Okay, so there's a lot of variables that one must take into consideration.
Yes.
Before you say where the gun was or where the shooter or shooters were when they fired this firearm.
Right.
And if you don't take those variables into consideration,
Don't ever let him hold the gun on anything. She looking at you like, boy, you don't stop pointing that damn gun at me. What the hell you think this is?
of where everybody was, correct?
I assume so. I mean, I have to see the situation, but yes.
Okay. And you would consider that to be not proof beyond to the exclusion.
He like, damn, he right though. Look, that dude on the stand like, yeah, he got a point though.
As a manager of the Broward Sheriff's Office tool and what's the title? Tool and
Fireman tool work unit.
Okay. You certainly would want to take all those variables in before you told this jury or any jury.
Yeah, scientifically, I would want to make sure that I'm accounting for as many variables as possible whenever rendering an opinion.
Otherwise, it would be just a guess, an
Yes.
estimate, right?
Right. I want to give a scientifically valid opinion.
Now, this could be an important point. The state contends Melly fired the fatal shots from the back driver's side seat, while the defense says he wasn't there and that this was a drive-by. The jury also heard testimony about gunshot residue testing. Those are particles of lead and other elements left behind after a gun is fired. What could be important in this case? The testing that was not conducted.
You got the sample from Miramar Police Department?
Yes.
Specifically, Detective Moretti directed it to you?
Yes.
And when we talk about GSR, or gunshot residue, you're aware that GSR can be found on clothes. Right?
Yes, that's possible.
Did Detective Moretti send you any clothes of Cortland Henry?
He did not.
He didn't send you any of the clothes?
No.
Did you know that the clothes of Cortland Henry were collected by the Miramar Police Department?
Objection calls for speculation outside the scope of the warrant.
Well, I don't know that calls for speculation. If she knows she can answer the question, overruled.
Were you aware that the Miramar Police Department collected Cortland Henry's clothes?
No, I was not aware of it.
The defense will point to this as another example of the investigation being botched, in their opinion. A lot has been made during this first week of trial about the way Melly acts in front of the camera. It's not always in front of the jury. In fact, it's rarely in front of the jury. There was one moment that really got under the skin of some of the victims' families where he appeared to be praying and then blowing kisses. On Thursday, there were some fireworks in the courtroom when the mother of Melly's ex-girlfriend took the stand. Felicia Holmes appeared to be a reluctant witness.
She snowed.
Good morning, Ms. Holmes.
Good morning.
She ain't
How are you
going
today?
at
You're
all.
good.
Are you cold?
No, I'm just, you know, I don't feel comfortable.
Are you nervous?
I feel threatened.
Before Holmes took the stand, prosecutor Christine Bradley said Holmes claimed she couldn't remember telling police in 2018 that Melly FaceTimed her daughter that morning. Her daughter was screaming, and Melly claimed people had fired at the SUV he was in with his friends, and he thought that they were dead. Bradley said Holmes claimed in 2018 that she saw Melly that morning and didn't see any blood on him.
You remember speaking with law enforcement in December of 2018?
I remember speaking with them, but I don't remember what they look like. I don't remember their names, but I do remember talking to someone.
Okay, so Ms. Holmes, I'm going to ask you, were you honest and truthful with law enforcement when you spoke with them?
I would hope so. I mean, it was 2018. I went through a lot during that year, so I'm not sure where my mindset was at that time.
Did you lie to law enforcement?
I would hope not. But I don't remember what I said back. It was like 5 years ago.
Oh, of course. I understand it's been a long time.
Holmes offered an explanation about why her statement after the murders differed from her claims now.
I do remember that they kind of bullied me and threatened my daughter to take her to jail for accessory after the fact. I do remember that.
Yes. And in terms of the statements that you made about what happened, you don't have any recollection of that? Did you read this statement multiple times?
I looked at it and I just didn't recall it, and I don't know.
And so you indicated you hoped you were truthful with law enforcement?
Yes, I did.
I have to ask you to be more definitive. Were you truthful?
I don't remember what I said to them back then, so if I was to tell you something now, I could be lying. I don't want to lie on the stand because you're going to take me to jail. So I'm saying what you want me to say.
I do not want you to say anything. I want you to tell the truth.
Okay, that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Christine Bradley implied Holmes had been paid to conveniently forget what she had told police.
In terms of have you ever said a statement, have you ever made a statement to the effect of you were told to quit your job and the defense would take care of us?
Objection.
No.
Excuse me.
The defense?
No.
I'm sorry.
Hell no.
We have another motion.
The last question.
Damn.
I made a determination that was an inappropriate, improper question, and the way it was phrased was totally improper, and therefore I sustain the objection. I am instructing you that you are to disregard the question. All right? I'm going to ask counsel to rephrase the question. Go ahead.
Melly's defense attorneys were outraged by the suggestion that they or anyone else were paying off Holmes to lie.
I'm sorry, I haven't asked anything yet.
Ask your question.
When you first took the stand, you said, I feel threatened.
Yes, sir, I do.
Who do you feel threatened by?
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Christine Bradley, the prosecutor's office.
This prosecutor.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
That was the most awkward, like, you could see it, like, she said objection. She was like, overruled, sit your ass down. And she was just like, damn, just sat down salty as hell. Like, she ruining my credibility. Look, nervous. Every time she get nervous, she swaying that little hell like.
Or anyone else were
Man.
paying off Holmes to lie.
This a huge
I'm
fight
sorry,
they
I
got
haven't
going on.
asked anything yet.
Ask your question.
Look, she ready to
When
object.
you first took the stand, you said,
Look, I
I
ain't even
feel
sit down.
threatened.
Look.
Yes, sir, I do.
Who do you feel threatened by?
Objection, Your
Object.
Honor.
Overruled.
Yep, sit down.
Bradley, the prosecutor's office.
This
Right there.
prosecutor.
Yep, that her. Oh
Thank
God,
you.
I seen it.
This led the defense to end the week by asking for a mistrial over Holmes's testimony and the questioning by Christine Bradley.
Mr. Devins has been prejudiced. This jury sat there and watched this fiasco unfold with at least 10, 15 sidebars after every 2 questions.
They're crazy.
With the implications that were being all predicated on the implications and the inadmissible testimony that Ms. Bradley herself read into and spoke into the record. And for that reason, we think that it was deliberate. It is highly prejudicial. This jury has been tainted, and we move for a mistrial.
Judge, in my entire career, I've never heard the state imply with no evidence whatsoever that the defense team would take care of this witness.
For her part, Christine Bradley said these statements were attributed to Felicia Holmes from her Instagram messages used to question her.
Judge, with regards to that, the statements that were in the records are what was used as impeachment, where it says they said that they were going to take care of us. Defense read into it and implied it meant it was never said the defense team in any way, shape, or form.
Judge John Murphy said he will rule on the motion for mistrial on Tuesday after the long holiday weekend. He told the defense team to consult with Melly to be sure this is what he wants, a mistrial.
Yeah, that's about it, man. And y'all heard that at the end, how the judge literally asked them, is y'all sure? And you feel me? That left a lot of people to think like, damn, the judge is letting you know, like, damn, is you sure? Like, they making all these mistakes. You really want some new people so they can fix up all their blemishes? You better think about it, Melly. You feel me? Melly don't know what's going on. Melly just vibing. He's singing, jamming to his music, trying to get home and drop some bangers, bro. But we got to see what happens in this case, man. Hopefully justice is served. If he's supposed to be free, he be free. If otherwise, I guess we'll just have to see, man. I'm gonna catch y'all tomorrow in the next video. I'm gone.